What is going on, Panther Lair? We are back talking about the Pittsburgh Panthers' home victory over the Syracuse Orange this past Tuesday night. Now, I just did a video here talking a little bit about why I think Pitt struggled early in this one on the offensive end. They're just looking for Cam Corn a little bit too much, in my opinion. That got them tunnel vision. But kind of building on that here, they also get really robotic with their actions, and the amount of turnovers they had early in this game certainly didn't help, especially because it allowed Syracuse to get some easy looks at the basket. So we're going to look at a couple sequences here. So obviously they haven't scored yet. This is early. Now look, like they've run a couple sets recently against, I think, yeah, it was Miami, where like Corn stationed here a little bit lower. And once this entry pass is made, they'll immediately cut through that. This player will rotate, go this way, and then maybe come back and run a little two-man game on this side. So they had some success there. I think they actually scored on this cut. Like I think Ishleg ended up getting a layup in that way. But here you see, like, there's just so little, in my opinion, that Corn can do here. He also is going to mishandle this ball when I play this. Like, again, has he put the ball on the floor like one or two times and got all the way to the basket against slower defenders? Yeah, he has. But for the most part, he just kind of goes into what he's told, and there's no, like, read, react. There's no kind of like secondary option. It's just, hey, I'm running whatever the script tells me to run here. And so he goes, bobbles the ball. This goes back to Guillermo Diaz-Graham. Now, at this point, Pitt always kind of lines up with their, like, this is going to be low, going to come down and set this flex screen. Then he's going to run this zipper cut, and then it's can turn into a zoom handoff, like zoom action. So that's kind of how Pitt runs a lot of their actions. Like, they do this multiple times a game. But here, Guillermo Diaz-Graham kind of falls victim to, like, okay, so no matter what, we're trying to get Zach Austin on this block here to get some, something towards the basket, something around the rim. And, JJ Starling just kind of, like, jumps this, hits off Austin, ends up being a turnover. Like, cannot be so locked into that as your only read that ends up being a turnover. So here we go. This is going to be Cam running the DHO. So here we go with some zoom screens. And again, I do like some of these like quick pitches as opposed to like holding this like it's a football handoff. But, in this instance, he's so locked in and Chris Bell just kind of jumps this action because they've seen Pitt do it so many times on tape that he just kind of like robotically throws this ball out into nowhere, and Bell's the first one who gets to it. Ends up being a turnover. So we go. This action, I get a lot of people that comment on this, like why Pitt even does this. I'm not 100% sure why you do this if you're not going to do this with any sense of urgency. Like if you're trying to promote some type of movement, some type of switching, some type of trailing situation where the defense is going to have to like be, closing out or do something, running it at this speed certainly does not. And Pitt gets locked into this movement where in this action where the ball just doesn't even go below the 3-point line before like two guys touch it and there's a bunch of time off the shot clock. So they just kind of run this. Again, this is a thing you're going to see on tape quite a bit. And when Lowe's unable to get like free cleanly here, this just gets like shot. Like this, you just can't throw that pass at that point. Ends up being 2 points for Syracuse. And then again, same thing here. So the best way to defend low and ball screens is absolutely blitz him. He's done a better job of kind of like stretching these out. But here he gets stretched out, and now you just have like the Diaz-Graham brothers just like standing here. Like, so the ball is at least 40 feet from the basket, and they're just standing here, and eventually Lowe just decides, hey, I'm just going to throw this pass after no one moves for a second, and then they miss time what they want to do, and then this ends up being 2 points for Syracuse. So a big piece of why Pitt started slowly in this one, aside from, like, trying to force things with Corn, because I just think that's, like, a tunnel vision approach. This one is way worse to me because it's just like robotic offense going through the motions, and when like something doesn't go right, when you're running that like kind of like mindless action, then you just throw a turnover. Like there has to be a little bit more urgency for sure, and there also has to be kind of like some type of like, hey, this isn't available, someone else needs to move for the ball, and I just think that it's like a programming issue. So this probably needs to be cleaned up. Pitt obviously came back in this one, but this was definitely one of the reasons they started slow.